The coffee shop sat on the edge of downtown, half hidden between a pharmacy and a pawn store. Its sign flickered weakly, the paint faded, but inside it smelled of roasted beans and quiet mornings. The regulars came for the calm, not the coffee. Every day, around 7:45, a woman sat at the corner table by the window. She wore the same gray sweater and dark jeans, her hair tied back in a loose knot. A notebook always lay open in front of her, next to a chipped mug. The barista said her name was Rachel. Most customers barely noticed her. She blended into the background, typing slowly, sipping cheap black coffee, eyes fixed on something distant. But one man did notice. David Cole, 42, senior investment consultant. Expensive watch, perfect tie, practiced smile. He came in every morning for a double espresso, phone in hand, always talking numbers. He noticed her because she didn't look up when he walked in. Didn't glance at his car, didn't care who he was. To him, she looked like another person who had stopped chasing success. He would see her counting coins from her wallet before ordering. He would hear her asking for refills instead of new cups. Once, she dropped her pen, and when he picked it up, he noticed the notebook, half filled with rough sketches and lists written in small, precise handwriting, no names, just ideas. One morning, David sat at the table beside hers. His phone buzzed nonstop. Market updates, urgent emails, a message from his bank. His mortgage payment was late again. He had the money, but it was tied in investments, and his bonuses were delayed. Stress followed him everywhere now. Clients demanded more, his boss pressed harder, and the economy wasn't forgiving. He ordered another espresso, glanced over at Rachel, and said casually, "You're here early every day." She looked up, her eyes calm. "Routine helps me think," he smiled politely. "You a writer?" "Something like that." He nodded, pretending to understand. "Freelance work's tough. I know how it feels. Unstable income, long hours," she smiled faintly. "You could say that?" He checked his phone again. "I'm in finance. The market's brutal right now. Makes you appreciate steady jobs." Rachel sipped her coffee. "Steady jobs don't exist anymore. Only steady people." He frowned slightly, unsure what she meant, but her tone carried no arrogance. Just truth. When she stood up to leave, she dropped a small business card from her notebook. He picked it up automatically. It had no logo, no title, only a name, Rachel M. Consultant. Private appointments only. He turned it over. Blank on the back. Before he could say anything, she was already gone. The next week, the pressure at work got worse. His branch lost 2 major clients. His manager started asking questions about his portfolio performance. Then came the call from the bank. His mortgage restructuring was denied. He sat in his car outside the coffee shop, staring at his phone, feeling the walls close in. That's when he saw Rachel again, sitting in her usual spot, typing slowly. He went inside, ordered coffee, and walked up to her. "Hey, Rachel, right?" She looked up, surprised but polite. "Yes, David, isn't it?" He nodded. "You said you're a consultant. What kind?" "Depends on who's asking. I might need advice." "Financial advice, actually." She studied him for a second. "You already have a job in finance." "Yeah, but this is personal. Mortgage issues, portfolio imbalance, all that. You probably don't do that kind of thing." "I do," she said. "Sometimes," he frowned. "Are you serious?" She took a card from her notebook and slid it toward him. "Call this number. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. I'll see if I can help." Her tone was calm, professional, nothing like her worn sweater suggested. He hesitated. "What's your fee?" "We'll discuss it after I see your situation." She stood, gathered her things, and left without another word. He stared after her, confused but curious. Something about her confidence didn't fit her appearance. She walked like someone who owed nothing to anyone. That night, he sat at his desk, surrounded by spreadsheets and invoices, but his mind kept circling back to her. He searched the name Rachel M. Consultant online. Nothing. No LinkedIn, no website, no company registry, just silence. By morning, curiosity outweighed doubt. He called the number. A soft voice answered. Rachel speaking. It's David, from the coffee shop. I know. You want advice, right? Yes. Bring your last 3 months of statements and your mortgage documents. Meet me at the address, I'll text you. Before he could ask questions, she hung up. Seconds later, a text appeared with an address. Downtown. A high-rise office building. He looked at it twice. He'd been in that building before. It housed several investment firms. Exclusive, expensive ones. His first thought was that she must work for one of them. Maybe she was an assistant or an independent advisor renting space. Either way, he needed help. He grabbed his files, put on his best suit, and drove out. The receptionist at the lobby didn't blink when he said, I have an appointment with Rachel M. She just smiled politely and pointed to the private elevator. Top floor, sir. Top floor. As the elevator doors closed, David felt his pulse quicken. He'd been to this building for meetings before, but never past the 10th floor. The top belonged to corporations, not individuals. When the doors opened, he stepped into a quiet corridor lined with glass walls. A single nameplate gleamed on the frosted door at the end. Maven Group, Executive Offices. He froze. Maven Group was one of the largest investment firms in the city. Before he could turn around, the door opened. Rachel stood there. Same calm eyes, same steady tone, only now she wore a tailored navy suit. Good morning, David, she said. You're right on time. He stared at her. What is this? My office, she said simply. Come in. David stepped into the office slowly, trying not to show how thrown off he felt. The space was nothing like what he expected. It was minimalist, quiet, and expensive. Floor-to-ceiling glass, a long walnut desk, 2 leather chairs facing it. On the far wall hung a single framed photo of a city skyline at night. No family pictures, no clutter. Rachel walked behind the desk and gestured toward the chair opposite her. Have a seat. He sat down, clutching the folder of financial papers he'd brought. So, this is where you work? This is where I think, she said, sitting down. You brought your statements? He nodded and handed them over. She flipped through them quickly, scanning with eyes that missed nothing. Your mortgage is variable rate, correct? Yes. Adjustable every 6 months? Right. You refinanced twice? He frowned. You can tell that already? She set the papers down. I've seen thousands of these. You're paying for a home worth less than your loan balance. You're stretched thin, keeping up appearances. He shifted uncomfortably. That's not unusual right now. It's unsustainable, she said flatly. He hesitated. Look, I'm not here to be judged. I just need a short-term plan to balance things out. Rachel looked at him evenly. You don't need a plan. You need honesty, he blinked. Excuse me? You're living like the market will always reward you. But you're borrowing to protect a lifestyle that doesn't exist anymore. You're bleeding money into a system that feeds on fear and pretense. He frowned. You sound like my therapist, she smiled faintly. Therapists listen. I calculate. For a moment, he said nothing. The sound of the city faintly echoed through the glass. Finally, he asked, What kind of consultant are you, really? Rachel leaned back in her chair. One that doesn't advertise. My clients come when they have nowhere else to go. And you help them how? I show them what they already know but refuse to see. He gave a dry laugh. You sound mysterious on purpose. I'm practical, she said. Mystery just follows honesty when people aren't used to hearing it. She turned her laptop around. A spreadsheet filled the screen, his name, his debts, his mortgage numbers, all perfectly organized. He stared. How did you... You gave me enough data to fill in the rest. Your accounts are linked through the same portfolio index. I used open source tracing. Anyone could do it if they cared enough. He felt exposed, irritated. You had no right, she interrupted, calm. You came for truth. I don't sell comfort. He took a breath, forced himself to relax. Fine, what do you suggest? Rachel stood and walked to the window. Sell the house. He froze. What? It's an asset you can't afford. Cut it loose before it cuts you. Rent for a year. Stabilize. Reinvest later when you can control the risk. He shook his head. I've worked too hard for that house. Then it will own you instead of you owning it. The words hit harder than he wanted to admit. She turned back to him. You asked for advice. That's it. He looked at her, trying to read something beyond her tone. You're not just a financial expert. Who are you really, Rachel? She looked at him for a long moment. Someone who built her way out of the same trap you're in. He frowned. You? You look like... poor? She said quietly. That's what everyone assumes. They see what they want to see. I dress simple because people talk more freely when they think you're below them. He had no reply. Go home, David, she said finally. Think about what I told you. Come back tomorrow if you're ready to act. He gathered his papers, still dazed. What's your fee? You'll know it when the job's done. She smiled faintly, and for a second, he caught a glimpse of something behind her calm. Authority. The kind that came from experience, not ego. He left the office in silence, the elevator ride down feeling longer than usual. Outside, the wind had picked up. He walked to his car with his mind spinning. He'd come expecting advice from a struggling freelancer. Instead, he'd met a woman who spoke like she'd built empires. That night, he sat at his desk again. The house felt too big, too quiet. His wife had taken their son to her mother's for the weekend. They'd been arguing for months about money, about him working too much, about the tension that never left his face. He looked at Rachel's card again. Just her first name, simple and clean. He thought about her words. Steady jobs don't exist anymore. Only steady people. By midnight, he'd gone through every expense, every payment, every unnecessary purchase. She was right. He was chasing status, not security. Still, he couldn't understand her. Who was she really? A financial savant? A private fixer? A scammer with access to public records? He searched online again. Nothing. No traces. At 1:30 a.m., he finally shut his laptop and leaned back, exhausted. Tomorrow, he would go back. He needed to know more, not just about his finances, but about her. The next morning, the sky was heavy with rain. David parked outside the Maven Group tower again, staring at the building as if it might swallow him whole. He wasn't sure why he'd come back. Curiosity, maybe? Or guilt. Inside, the receptionist greeted him like she'd been expecting him. Good morning, Mr. Cole. Ms. Rachel is waiting. He took the same private elevator up. This time, his reflection in the mirrored doors looked tired, smaller, unsure. When the doors opened, Rachel stood by the window, phone in hand, voice measured. Transfer the remaining assets to the Zurich branch by noon. I'll confirm from the boardroom. She ended the call and turned toward him. You came back. I had questions, he said quietly. And I did what you said. I listed the house, she nodded. That was fast. I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. You just decided to make the right one this time. He gave a faint smile. You sound like you've done this before. I have. He sat down slowly. Can I ask something? Who do you work for exactly? Rachel sat across from him. I don't work for anyone, he frowned. You own Maven Group? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she pulled a drawer open and slid a small folder across the table. Inside were documents with her signature. Company filings, board authorizations, property records. Her name appeared everywhere. Rachel M. Hale, CEO. David stared. You run this firm? She nodded once. Since 2017. He blinked, trying to process. You're the Rachel Hale? The one who took over after the restructuring? That firm manages nearly $5 billion in assets. That's right. He sat back, stunned. You were sitting in that coffee shop every morning. Looking like someone invisible, she finished for him. It keeps people honest. He shook his head. Why? Why would you do that? Rachel leaned forward. Because power isolates you. You start hearing only what people think you want to hear. When I sit in that cafe, I hear the truth. What people really think about money, about failure, about others. That's where I find real information. He stared at her, speechless. You came in thinking I was poor, she said. You spoke freely. You showed me who you are when you thought I couldn't help you. He swallowed hard. And who am I? Someone scared of losing status. Not security, not home. Just image. You built your life on perception. He didn't argue. She was right. She stood and walked to the window again, watching the rain streak the glass. You know what I learned sitting in that coffee shop? People with money spend every day afraid of losing it. People without money spend every day trying to get it. Both sides are prisoners. David watched her silently. There was no arrogance in her voice, only fatigue. He finally said, "You could change things. You have the power to help people." "I already do," she said. "Just not the way they expect." She turned back toward him. "You asked for advice. You got it. You acted. That's more than most." He nodded slowly. "I guess I owe you a fee." "You already paid it." He frowned. "How?" "By being honest." She closed the folder and handed it to him. "Keep this. Proof that truth doesn't always wear a suit." He hesitated. "Why me?" "Because you reminded me of myself 20 years ago. Hungry, smart, but blind to what matters." He looked down at the folder, then back at her. "What does matter, Rachel?" She smiled faintly. "Freedom. And peace. Money buys neither." The room fell silent again. Only the sound of rain filled the space. After a moment, she said, "You'll get a call next week. A new opportunity, take it. It's from a friend of mine. A better fit for who you actually are." He nodded. "You already arranged that?" She shrugged. "Let's call it an investment." When David left the building, the rain had slowed. He walked to his car, not rushing, not checking his phone for once. He felt lighter. For the first time in months, his head was clear. He thought about how easy it had been to assume Rachel was beneath him, about how the world taught people to measure worth in watches, clothes, cars. He got in his car and looked at his reflection in the rearview mirror. For the first time, he didn't like the man looking back. That night, he went home and told his wife the truth. About the debts. About the house. About Rachel. She listened quietly. No anger, no tears. Just relief. "I was waiting for you to say it," she said softly. They sat together for the first time in months without shouting. The next morning, he woke up early and walked to the coffee shop. It was almost empty. The corner table was occupied again, by Rachel. She was back in her gray sweater, sipping her black coffee, notebook open. He smiled faintly. "You're still doing it." She looked up, calm as ever. "Observing, learning." He sat across from her. "You changed my life," she shook her head. "No, you did. I just gave you the mirror." They sat in silence for a moment. The sun began to break through the clouds outside. "Rachel," he said, "can I ask one last question?" She looked at him. "Go ahead. Why me, really?" She smiled, the first real smile he'd seen from her. "Because when I saw you in this cafe, you looked exactly like I did the day I decided to stop pretending." She closed her notebook, stood up and said quietly, "Enjoy your coffee?" "David, you've earned it." Then she walked out, disappearing into the morning crowd. He watched her go, the sound of her steps fading until the only thing left was the quiet hum of the cafe. He looked down at his coffee. It was cold now, but it didn't matter. He finally understood what she meant by freedom. 3 years passed. The city changed, as cities always do. Coffee shops turned into co-working spaces. Old firms closed, new ones appeared with shinier names and emptier promises. The economy recovered on paper, but not in people. David changed too. He had sold the house, just as Rachel advised. He paid his debts, rebuilt slowly, and moved into a smaller apartment near the waterfront. He left his old firm 6 months after their last meeting and joined a smaller investment cooperative that focused on local businesses. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't rich. But it was real. He learned to live without chasing every deal, every status symbol, every fake smile at corporate events. His wife came back home. Their son grew up watching him work fewer hours and smile more often. Sometimes he still passed by the old coffee shop. It hadn't changed much, though the sign finally stopped flickering. Rachel's corner table remained empty. No one had seen her in months. He tried looking her up again, just to see if she was still running Maven Group. But the records showed a new CEO. The company had quietly merged with another firm. Rachel's name had vanished from the corporate registry. He figured she had retired. Or disappeared, like people who had already done everything they needed to. Until one morning, an envelope arrived. No sender. No return address. Just his name, written in small, neat handwriting. Inside was a single letter. David, you once asked me what mattered most. You found the answer yourself. I didn't help you because you needed money. I helped you because you needed clarity. Most people die with wealth and without peace. You chose peace first. That's rare. Maven Group no longer exists. I dismantled it quietly. Too much power in one place always corrupts, no matter who holds it. I'm building something smaller now, simpler, cleaner. You'll hear about it soon, though my name won't be on it. Keep your balance. Stay awake. And when someone looks invisible to you, look again. That's where truth hides. R. He read the letter 3 times, then folded it carefully and placed it inside his desk drawer. That day, he walked to the coffee shop again, out of habit. The same barista was there, older, slower, still smiling. You still open early, he said. Always, the barista replied. Same as her. He looked at the corner table. Empty as always. She used to sit there every morning, the barista said. Never ordered anything fancy. Always black coffee, David nodded. Yeah, I remember. The barista smiled faintly. Funny thing, though. After she stopped coming, she paid for a year's worth of coffee in advance. Said it was for anyone who couldn't afford it. He blinked. She did? Every day, someone comes in and gets a free cup because of her. David looked at the empty chair again. A woman who looked poor but gave without asking credit. A CEO who vanished without applause. A teacher who never called herself one. He ordered 2 coffees. One for himself, one for her. The barista raised an eyebrow. Someone meeting you? He smiled. Maybe. He sat at the corner table, the same place she used to sit. The steam from both cups rose quietly between the sunlight and the glass. Outside, the world moved fast as always. Inside, time slowed. He opened his notebook, the one he used now for ideas. Inside, he wrote 3 words, steady people last. He closed it, leaned back, and watched the city come alive. For the first time in his life, he felt like he belonged, not to the system, not to the illusion, but to himself. And though she was gone, Rachel's words lingered clear and calm, freedom and peace. Money buys neither. He smiled faintly, took a sip of coffee and whispered under his breath, "Thank you, Rachel." Months later, the news mentioned a new foundation quietly funding women-led startups across the country. The founder remained anonymous, but insiders said it was run by someone who once built Maven Group. David read the headline, closed his laptop, and laughed softly. He didn't need proof. He already knew. Rachel had found her next project, helping others see what she once saw in him. The moment a person stops pretending and starts living. He finished his coffee, left a generous tip for the barista, and stepped into the morning light. The world was still chaotic, still unfair, still greedy. But somewhere inside it, someone was building a better version quietly, without a name, without applause. And that was enough. He walked down the street, the sunlight warm on his face, carrying the calm of a man who had finally learned what wealth really meant.